Mixed Media Gaming.
Welcome to the gaming segment of the Mixed Media Podcast. Right now, we'll be doing Arguing with Reddit. I'll be responding to some hot takes on Reddit, perhaps not arguing, but maybe agreeing with them. I don't know, we'll see. So, there are 3 or 4 hot takes. I'm not really sure how many this time that I have not seen before, except one, which I've chosen myself.
Sweet. So I'm going to pull up the first hot take, and then if you're just tuning in to the pre-recorded version, Ben is messed up. We know, and we're getting to it.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here we go. So this one's from yourself, Nathan, so you can go ahead and explain it.
Okay. I'm going to actually read this in its entirety because I think it's quite the experience. So here we go. All right, it's titled, I'm Leaving Gaming Forever. All right, here's what it says. Hey guys, I just turned 18, and to treat myself, I went away alone, no family, friends, or even my girlfriend. 3 days at a private resort. Didn't leave my room for a second. I did this to contemplate my future as an adult and where gaming might fit in, among other things, of course. I spent thousands, if not tens of thousands, on digital and physical gaming-related things ranging from games to full sim setups, for dogfights, driving cars, and at one point, oh God, these commas are placed in odd places. It's messing me up. At one point, I even had a fake jet ski rig for a car. Simulator games won't ever leave my house due to the sheer investment I put in. But games like COD and Halo and Fortnite, although I've never really but games like COD and Halo and Fortnite, I assume means are going to leave the house. Although I've never really liked them. Okay, I actually don't know what I'm trying to say there, but. The big AAA multiplayer games. Oh my God. Okay, I understand. Okay, the thing is, I read this before. It's just confusing because it's so oddly written that I'm reading it again and I'm like, what is he trying to say? I remember now. It's basically saying games like COD and Halo, big AAA multiplayer games, they all taste the same. And no matter how long I played for, the new kids are coming in and sweating so hard. I'm working 12-hour days. I want to come home for an hour of gaming, but it's impossible, especially in games like RSS and Warzone. These games become some people's lives and livelihoods, and it means they're just on another level. So I sold every one of my physical games and all my consoles controllers, thanks to memories. It's on r/gaming, posted an hour ago. I don't know if I'm supposed to take this seriously or not, because there's so many like random things in here. And I'm like, huh? Such as working 12-hour days. Okay, you could work 12-hour days, or you probably don't because you're 18. It's kind of weird. I guess it's possible, right? But okay, so at first it's like, all right, it's kind of odd, right? But maybe it's possible. Work 12-hour days, you come home, you're going to play for an hour and go to sleep or whatever, and just do it again, which is tough, but okay. But then he says things like, I went to a private resort for 3 days to think about gaming. I'm like, what? You paid to go to a private resort? Okay. He also says that he spent thousands or tens of thousands on video games, but he's only 18, so presumably he's had a job for at most like 2 years, right? So I'm not really sure how this works. Potentially his parents bought him things. Once again, I don't really know. Maybe this is like a whole true story, right? But regardless, it's very wacky. It's kind of funny, but that's not really the point. The thing is, like, I guess that you can pull from this interesting story is that some people think that all the big AAA games, they'll taste the same, in his words, and no matter how long you play them for, the new kids are just, in his words, sweat so hard, so they're just good, right? I feel like I experienced this. I mentioned this with Fortnite, right? And just like being decimated in when buildings turned on. They're probably kids, right? I guess the new kids, but I wouldn't say this is. You join like the no build mode. And it's quite clear. People are still kids. They're just bad. That's the only difference. They're just not good at it. So I wouldn't say that new kids are always going to be the end of you in all multiplayer games. Especially he says like but it's impossible, especially in games like RSS and Warzone. These two games are like, okay, I never played Rainbow Six Siege, but at least with Warzone, I feel like that's just not the case. I have pretty mild to moderate FPS skills, but I can do, just fine in Warzone, I feel like, Oh yeah, like the sameness feeling them all. I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, sameness is like a spectrum, right? It's like, it's not like either it is the same or it's not the same. It's like, hey, be kind of the same, you know. I guess with the examples he pulls up, like COD, Halo, and Fortnite, none of them are really the most original ideas ever. And two of them are just sequels, right? Like, you know, infinite sequel series is pretty much. And Fortnite, I mean, it's just a derivative of the battle royale genre. So not really the most unique thing ever, but I'd say they have their own distinctions that make them worth existing, I guess. It's a pretty mild, hot take, I guess, but I just thought the whole story around it was pretty funny. So, yeah. Also, but I don't know, I kind of feel bad because, like, if this person actually is working 12 hours a day, I kind of feel bad, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, so this one is from Producer Wife. And it's a list. So it says EA makes good games. It has a 0, of course. Mass Effect, Mirror's Edge, Dragon Age, Skate, Dead Space, Need for Speed, Peggle, Titanfall, Unravel, Apex, Fallen Order. And I assume this is plenty spicy because of the general hatred towards EA as a company. But the games that they make are very varied. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess the first reply says, like, just essentially define make, right? They make them, I guess, in part. Some of those series might start before EA acquired the company that made them. I'm not actually sure about a lot of those though. Like Mass Effect, was that originally under EA? I'm not actually sure. Yeah, I mean, they certainly fund them, and so I guess they're part of the making process, right? They certainly deserve some credit, you know, and provide, I don't know, probably certain resources like I assume like marketing and whatnot, you know, things that publishers tend to provide. So in some sense, yeah, like they made them. So, and if you consider these all good games, I mean, that's kind of, I can't say any of these are objectively bad games. So I guess there's a case to be made that yes, there's a list of games that were in part made by EA that are good. But if you say like make, like, I don't know, I guess, like, would a producer of a movie make a movie? I think so, right? They're part of the making process, you know? Like,
it really depends. I mean,
assuming like I understand producers might have different like they might be more or less involved depending on the producer. But I mean, like a pure like funding producer, like, you know, you do what you, well, okay, EA doesn't necessarily do this, but, you know, to simplify things, just like, you do what you want to do, here's the money, you know?
Yeah. So Producer Wife is telling me to check the first comment after the post for the spicy bit. So let me go check that out real quick. So it says, fun fact, EA didn't make a single one of those games. All they did was F with their development and force microtransactions into them. So I guess that's the feeling.
I guess. I mean, yeah. I don't really. I don't know. I haven't played enough EA games I've never really felt the microtransaction-ness of EA because I haven't played enough EA games. Or, for example, Mirror's Edge literally has none, right? I don't think that exists. I could be wrong. I can't recall. I played Dead Space before. Dead Space, it just has none. There are no microtransactions in Dead Space. I played the first one. I played the third one, I think. Yeah. No microtransactions there. In fact, there's literally no way to spend money. I don't think there's any DLC either. I think you literally just buy the base game and that's it. So, I mean, okay, so then if you're taking it, you know, once again, very like literal sense, did EA make it? Yeah, I guess in part. You put Dead Space on the list, and no microtransactions, therefore you could say EA makes good game, at least in one good game, and that good game is Dead Space. But I don't think there are microtransactions in Mass Effect, right? Clearly, this is not like a thing for every single game. So, yeah, I think you could say, assuming these games were made, which I think Dead Space, I don't know who the studio behind Dead Space, to be honest. So I don't know if they were like acquired by EA or they've always been under EA. So I'm not actually sure where that falls. But if it does fall under like EA having actually created it in part, then yeah, I guess EA makes good games. I'm not saying they're, you know, on average, you know, the highest quality of like, you know, gaming cuisine necessarily, but, you know, I'm just affirming that, yes, there are good games that EA has made.
Nice. Okay. This last one is from Ben. Let me pull it up. Ben, if you want to describe.
Yeah, so it's a really, really long post. This person basically says they're trying to figure out why games today have such poor writing. And the person says that seems to take issue with the general claim that he or she or they seem to have encountered all over the place, which is that the reason that games have poor writing is because they focus so much on interactivity. And he compares this to tabletop and pen and paper RPGs such as Dungeons and Dragons, and says that those games are built on interactivity, and that despite that fact, they the worlds that they create are so interesting and unique, and you can like write books based in these worlds, even if the worlds are kind of only sketchily developed in the game, because they're just so they allow so much to go on, and so he thinks that that's not the fact that games choose interactivity instead of a traditional linear approach is not a valid excuse for why game writing today is so bad.
Yeah, I think I agree, at least in part with that. Like, writing is the one thing that I have no idea about within like the game dev world. Like, I never studied writing, but I've dabbled into like the visual side of things and the auditory side of things and whatnot, game design. Writing, I'm a bit clueless about, but I think at least can tell when a narrative isn't very good, isn't very appealing. I think a lot of times, it's probably suffered because of the fact that they're trying to take advantage of the fact that it's a game, and so they make it try to push interaction in some way that negatively affects the writing. So in games where think about story-based games where you have options you can choose from, right? And if you make so many of those options, I am going to assume that the narrative team, the writing team, has probably diluted their talent in making a bunch of like different options and stuff like that that aren't even necessarily very important to the story to begin with. You get to this like weird like things with like ludonarrative dissonance where like if you give your character like a strong like a very strong identity, right? And you give like the player a bunch of choices, it's like, well, there's really only one choice the character would actually do, right? Or maybe you can say arguably there are two, or whatever. But if you have like four or so choices, maybe like, well, some of these are like literally like the character wouldn't do that, right? And so it's literally like the writing just jumped off a bridge just to like give the player an option that might not even matter in the end. It might not literally lead to like one different voice line, a quick exchange, having a slightly different voice line, and then the game carries on the same way. So yeah, I guess at least with like interactive choices, I'd say that I don't think it has to be this way, right? I'm sure there are examples of games that do this just fine, especially games that give you like a blank slate character where the character really can't do anything out of the ordinary because your character's a blank slate. Now, is this good for narrative? I mean, it sounds hard to have a blank slate character like that you are entirely in control of, because that means, well, if you ever want to take control away from the player and you want to have your character say something, well, they should act according to how the character is. But the character is defined by you, so the developers can't know what the character should say in whatever sort of hard to find situation they might find themselves in. So yeah, it's certainly a tough issue for story-based games, and with specifically dialogue and behavior and stuff like that. You don't have this issue with like a linear game where developers know exactly who the character is. And so the character's going to say things that the character should say, do things the character should do, and all that good stuff. I think it was second thing that I want to say too. So in like like story-based, okay, there are a lot of games where like they're not really story-based, right? They have a story that's kind of just slapped on. Sometimes it's fine, right? Sometimes it's like world building in a way, but it's not really like a big story to it, right? It's not really like a I'm trying to think of a game. Recently I've been playing Dirty Bomb because I found out people still play that game, so that's kind of crazy. But it has a story behind it, right? Most most people who play the game probably have no idea what the story is, so it doesn't really matter that much. But there's a story of the name of the game is called Dirty Bomb because it involves a dirty bomb that exploded and bad things happened to London and whatever, right? And so you have a story behind it. It's all for like setting. It's all just setting, right? There's no like that is it. There's no like other purpose to it. And I think this is fine, right? It's like it's not really any writing involved necessarily, right? That I mean, technically every character has their own biographies, but it doesn't really matter, So I wouldn't say there's any like in terms of like certain types of games, the writing can be like background garbage. It doesn't really matter that much, just like fluff to like set the stage for the world. I mean, that can be done wrong too, probably, if you really mess up. But I think it's a lot more simple than trying to shove a story into like a choose your own adventure type game or something like that. So, yeah, that's all I have to say.
Cool. Yeah, I found it interesting that one of the commenters said tabletop RPG is a completely different beast entirely. Like, when you have a narrator and they like sort of like adapt the story because it's human, so they can sort of mold the story to go along with the tabletop RPG. I thought that was an interesting comment. Cool. Well, I guess that's it for our Arguing with Reddit segment.
Sure. Thank you for watching this segment of the Mixed Media Podcast. Next up, we'll be doing, I'm not sure, either Ben or Irving, so they both have interesting topics. So if you're watching the the recorded version of this podcast, be sure to check out their segments. And yeah.
Whip outside, I'm cruising. Big stick inside, no losing. Better watch out for the snake and Judas. Don't ask them who this is. I bet they know what I'm moving in. I bet I show it into a dim. How you hate and then lose again? How you hating my vibes? Why you wasting my time? Getting hype on my line. Tell a man I don't want feedback, I just want relax. Brand new whip, two-tone, I need that brand new hit. Like lean back, brand new bits I live in. We back, man, you never gonna like us. Get them on sight now, let them on light. That way they know I'm more righteous. Look at my life, I'm living alright. I'm nice, you know I'm alright. Cause looking like Christ, no need for the hype or fight or telephone vipers. No need for the telephone vipers.